Okay, for this next surface, I wanted some of that other lace. I've put it away, I'll get ahead of myself and tidy up. And I wanted some of that lace I've used. I'll have to use this sample as an explanation of what I mean. Right, you're going to make a sandwich. Muslin. This is just muslin, normal, common muslin, okay? Now you're going to be FMEing, so this has to be upside down. So put the outer part of your ring down first, where the screw is. Actually, I'll unscrew it before I do it, just in case it's not opening up. Lay your piece of muslin on the top, okay? Then on here, you're going to put some wadding, some of this this soft fibre fill stuff that you use to stuff toys and things. Now, don't put it everywhere, just put little bits of it in certain areas. I mean, you're going to get wisps of it going all over, that doesn't really matter. But you know, don't fill the whole hoop with it is what I'm saying. Now I'm going to use this lace. Now this was so expensive in London, it's silk, and I only bought 1/4 of a metre because without selling my firstborn I couldn't afford it. So this is what I'm using, and that's what I've used here. Okay, now you've got to put it right side up. Yeah, right side up. I do get confused. On top of that, okay, and then get your inner hoop, put it in. Oh, there. As tight as you can, you know, tighter the better. Right, I don't need to even tighten that now because it's so tight. And then you've got your inner area to stitch on, haven't you? With your wadding in there, okay. So that's that. Now what I wanted to say was, this lace has got quite a dense background, okay. If you use a more open lace like I used for this, it's difficult to see I suppose, but very open lace, then your wadding's going to come through the top, so that's not going to work. So you need something very sheer. You don't have to use lace. In fact, that's too tight, I'm going to take that out. You don't have to use lace. You could use a sheer pattern cloth like a voile or something, play around with it, you know, test it out. What I'm going to do now is lift my sandwich out and just loosen this hoop a bit, because I'm thinking if it's too tight it might flatten that wadding too much and I might lose that surface texture. Okay, so I'm wondering if I've got enough in there, because I'm looking at this. I might put a bit more in. So you do want, the point of this one is the surface raised areas, so I'm just going to put a little bit more in. But I don't want it everywhere, I want some flat areas as well. So, right, put my cloth back on top, right side up obviously, and then put this back on. Right, then we're going to take this to the sewing machine, okay, and we're going to end up with something, I'm not going to say as wonderful as this, because like I say, I'm sure it could be taken further, and I do have plans for it next time, in conjunction with other things I'm going to make. But it's certainly a unique surface, and it's certainly very textural and very beautiful, and in comparison to this, it's different, but they live together as well. I mean, I don't know if you'd want to do some of this and join it to a bit of this. You could try that. I've never done that, and that wasn't in my plan, but that's an option. Or maybe that other stuff, this one. I mean, all these, yeah, now that lives well there, doesn't it? So these could be joined. This could be cut out in an organic manner and joined to that. Okay, so all these different surfaces we're creating, generally I would say mix and match. I'm not sure about them, because this just, you know already that just gets me, doesn't it? It's just like, pulls at my heartstrings. And I think it lives on its own, and I think it deserves to live on its own. It's better on its own. I think it would detract from it if you put it next to anything more solid, even though that's not really solid, it's quite fragile. It's more solid in relation to this. So I don't know whether I would add anything to that. I mean, that, it does, but I think the beauty of this is less is more, because it is enough on its own. It's such an exquisite surface, I don't think it needs anything. But certainly this one, and this one would live together, and that was in my plan, as was the piece I'm going to show you with paper next time. That and the piece with paper. But having thought about that, then that would live as well. So just knock yourself out creating surfaces and mix and match them and join them together. So I'm going to take this to the machine now, but it's very basic, very basic what I'm going to do now, but it does result in this. But again, you've got to see the bigger picture, because it's the hand embellishment that moves it on, okay, and creates the specific effects that I've got going on here. So I need to turn off and set my machine up, and then go through that with you very briefly, the process of doing what I want to do to this. Okay. I am at the machine. I'm just going to get this other bit. I've had to put that light away because I don't want it bouncing off the table because of the machine. So I'm just checking my other piece to remind myself of a couple of things. So I set up for free machine embroidery, my feet are down, I've got my foot on, threaded up. So that's my elbow. I am sorry, I've got this quite close to the machine. So I'm going to start off in quite a flat area. Why is that? Which is here. Put my needle in again and bring that up to the top. Hang on to that and secure that first before I do anything else. So foot down. Couple of little stitches. Right, just to secure that. Put my needle back in. And then I'm literally just going to make circular motions, but in a neat manner, so that what I'm doing is isolating bits of this padding. You can see here, I've got a really big circle, a little bit smaller, and then lots of little circles. So that's what I'm going to try and do. Just a variation of circles. Now you can do petals, you can do anything you want. Like I say, this is quite new to me, and I haven't pushed it perhaps as far as it could be pushed. But you don't need me to do that, I don't think. I think you're just going to get on your machine and you're all going to come out with vastly different things. This is me putting an idea in your head and run with it, okay? So I've got my pad in here and I've got my flatter areas. The flatter areas I'm probably not going to give much attention to, and the reason for that I will tell you when I've done this bit, okay? So I'm just going to go and do it. Right, now one thing I will say is because of the wadding, it's quite thick in places, so you have to be careful, okay? Take it slowly. And I didn't check for oil, did I? So now I've got oil coming through. I didn't run it off for oil. I shouldn't have to do this every single dratted time I come on this machine. I don't want to ruin it because it's that silk. So I'm just going to have to turn off and clean it out again, because there's oil coming through. I should have checked it. I won't be a sec. Oh, turn off. I'm back. That's my fault. I should remember to run it through with a scrap of cloth before I start working on it, and it just went out of my head. Anyway, I've cleaned it now and I've ran it through with some cloth, so it should be okay. What I was going to say was I go around more than once, okay, just accentuates it a bit more. But again, you'll get a sense of that yourself, whether you want to do that with your own. I just need to secure this. Right, so that's that. I can cut that off now. So literally, just what I said before, circles. Big circles, little circles. And depending on how much wadding you've got in certain areas, your circles, some are more raised than others. Now I just had a thought then, I suppose, I've never ever done machine quilting, but I imagine this is what machine quilting's like. Apart from your machine quilting, your wadding would be all the way flat, would it? All the way around. And this is random wadding. So you might actually already be expert at this if you've done any machine quilting. So depending on how much wadding you've got in different areas, the different heights, like that's quite raised, but that's more raised. These are very slightly raised. Okay, so you can perhaps play about with deliberately putting a lot of wadding in one place and not as much in another. So I'll just continue for a sec. What I'm doing is I've got a load of wadding here and here, and I want to stitch it because I'm excited by it, so that's what I'm trying to get myself back over here. And I'm moving my way across this piece in a circular motion, or going around the edges of ones that are already there to get to the other areas. Don't want any straight lines on here. Right, so I'm having so much fun doing this, I could be doing it all day. So I hope you can see, there will be pictures, but I hope you can see the variation on the surface there in terms of depth and different levels of padding. I hope that's obvious on the camera. Now the reason I'm trying areas without wadding is so that I can do this to it, because like I say, I've just been playing with this. So then what I've done is I've cut areas out and edged them with buttonhole lace, and then put bars across myself and wrap those. So that could, if I was to take this further, I could have loads more of these. So we'd have a combination of all the processes, but with this extra element with the wadding and the raised bits. Now what I've done is I've outlined all these circles with chain stitch, and I think it emphasises them beautifully. You can use any stitch you want, I just chose chain stitch, alright. And over here, on the edge, I've done loads of bullion knots around half of it there. So it's chain stitch around there and then a load of bullion knots around half of it. So again, go away, knock yourselves out, play with that. And then when I come back and do the paper piece, and I've done more work on this piece, I'm going to try and join this, perhaps the paper as well, to this piece. Oops. To a section of this piece, okay. So I'll be moving that forward like that, and like I say, that's going to be sometime at the weekend, but that you can see the surface, because I can see in my viewer that you can see that, and it's just like a moon landscape, isn't it? So much to play with there. I'm really delighted with that, apart from the bit with the oil on, but I'm going to have to cover that with hand stitch. Although the thought of having oil in my silk makes me want to cry, it makes me want to weep, it really does, because I'm always going to know that's there. In fact, I might have to take it away and try and wash that out, because there's no hand stitch on it yet. I can't, because you can imagine in 5 years, if that oil stays there, it's just going to be really, it makes me want to weep. So have fun, I can't wait to see what you all come up with in the Flickr group. I can't turn this off, I do this every time. You can see me Glastonbury thing, I'm trying to press this button. Goodbye.